Terrible with money.
How do you ask that?
If your family doesn't talk about money,
how do you know if he's just being stingy or if he's financially smart?
This is a big source of marriages becoming sour and falling apart.
Rank up at Marriage.MBA. Divorce proof your future marriage today.
Red flag numero 6. Terrible with money. If a man is penny pinching and stingy while he is single, chances are that he will stay the same after marriage. On the other hand, if he maxes out all of his credit cards and can barely make the minimum monthly payment, that's not a good sign either. Stay far away if he has a habit of gambling. Be careful not to jump the gun with someone just because he is rich. A woman who seeks out a rich man to marry just because he is rich might end up in a terrible marriage, especially if she overlooks all of his red flags.
How do you know if he's just being stingy or if he's being financially smart?
That's what you find out when you have your marriage conversation with him. Under financial compatibility, we have all those questions. You ask and you follow up. And when you do your financial background check, you can see what his expenses are, what his income is, and in the future, what the projection is. It's a fine line. You want to be careful. Just because somebody is being careful with their money doesn't necessarily mean they're being stingy. How do you know? As long as they are spending on things that are necessities, they are not shying away from that, then that should be okay. But that is something that you could discuss. You could throw a couple of examples at the guy. Say, hey, if this happens, what would you do? Would you share the cost? Would you pay for it all by yourself? So you can actually probe into some of those scenarios and kind of see what the guy is thinking of.
If a man is rich, is that a green flag?
You want someone who can take care of you and the family and the future children financially. So then that is absolutely something under deal maker.
At a certain age, you have to start being concerned with money, or at least have a game plan. I'm not saying it's a red flag if he's like broke, because if his plan isn't to stay broke, if you're okay with that, you're okay with that. But if he's just a bum and he's like, yeah, I occasionally have like $5 in my pocket, I'm going to go buy a Happy Meal, then it's like, okay, you obviously don't care about what money's coming in, what money's going out. I feel like the attitude there is really telling.
Now, rich, you need to define that. At a certain point, there is a threshold where making a lot more doesn't really give you that level of return. Depending on where you live, the definition of rich changes very, very widely.
If he was born into a family with money and has had money his whole life, I would make sure that he understands the value of a dollar and understands hard work, because you want to make sure that tomorrow, if he woke up broke, would he still be a good man?
Terrible with money is a big issue. How to talk about money, how to discuss money openly like that is a skill that we need to learn.
How do you ask that? This feels so personal to ask you, like, oh, what's your credit score? How do you spend your money? Or are you in debt right now?
Why? If your family doesn't talk about money, that could be a reason. The fact that we don't ask is because culturally we are taught these are taboo topics. They're not. Are you going to ask those questions on the first meeting in the first 10 minutes? Maybe not. How you ask and when you ask, there's some arts to it, but these are absolutely essential topics that you would definitely ask. This is almost like a foreshadowing of how open and transparent conversation and communication and planning you'll have in your marriage about money. Because right now, if you're able to talk about these things in a sincere way, trust me, that opens up a door, the habit. After marriage, you can deal with money problems so much more easily.
Just having money isn't enough. Knowing about money and being able to manage money and having a good work ethic and a management technique, that's what matters. Not having money or not having money.
Do you think we should think of and create a list of all questions to assess a potential's qualities? Won't the conversation be too interrogatory that way?
Oh my God, I love this question.